Hi everybody! No one asked me for this video. I just want to show you all the books that I have not read. So let's get into it. There's a lot of them. So the first books that are on my TBR shelf, I've actually read one of them already, and it is the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I have read the first one in this trilogy, and I have yet to read the second and third one. I just, for some reason, have not finished these books, and I don't really know if I ever will. I got them all for a Christmas present, and I was really excited. I read the first one, and then for some reason I put it down and I never ever picked up the second and third ones. Maybe that will be just something that I pick up when I have nothing else to read, or when I feel like finally finishing the series that I started years ago. But for now, I just have not read them. The second book is Olivia Twist by Lori Langdon. Like, it's so pretty. It's such a fun cover. I have not read this book, but it was written by a friend of mine, Lori Langdon, who is an author. We ended up meeting a few years ago, and we are part of the same friend group now, and she is just such a fun, cool person to be around. I just have not read this yet. So this is a retelling of Oliver Twist, and it is sort of a post-Oliver Twist story where it turns out that Oliver Twist is Olivia Twist. Oliver was a girl all along. Maybe I can combine this with Miss Peregrine's Home and do like a young adult month where I read all of these young adult books that I haven't read yet. The next book on my TBR is another book by somebody that I know, and it's actually my high school English teacher who wrote Maritopia 2075, and I started to read this book and I had to put it down. I'm sorry, Mr. Simmons, you were the coolest. I think you're so great, but I picked up this book and it's just so hard to get through because the vocabulary in this book is extremely difficult. There are so many big words, and I'm not saying this because I'm a dumb person. There are so many big words in this book. Someday maybe I will sit down, I will have my dictionary at the ready to read this whole book. Mr. Simmons, you're awesome. You're still one of my favorite teachers. I just haven't read your book yet. I'm sorry, please forgive me. The next book is on my to-read list for this year. My friend and I are in our own little tiny book club together. Hi, Chelsea, if you're watching. So this is one of my picks for our book club. I think it's like sometime over the summer, but it is Wanderers by Chuck Wendig. And this book is the kind of sci-fi futuristic novel that I probably will really enjoy. So this is about a woman who wakes up to discover that her sister is in some sort of trance, and her sister starts walking in one direction, and she starts to follow her sister and realizes that millions of other people are in this kind of trance and they're all walking the same direction, and she is one of the people who is around to protect her sister and protect all of these sleeping people who are walking towards something. It sounds awesome. I'm really excited to read this book. I just can't read it yet because it is on the book list for later this year. The next book is Educated by Tara Westover. This was given to me by a friend, hi Barb, who said that I in particular would really enjoy this book, and I think that I will. I've heard really good things about it. And this is a memoir of a woman who was born to survivalists in the mountains of Idaho, and she writes a book about her childhood and coming out of that lifestyle. I'm excited to read this. I don't know when I'll get around to it, but it is definitely going to be read at some point this year. You're all gonna hate me for the next one. I have not read Jane Eyre. I have it, but I haven't read it. Obviously I got this at Half Price Books. Let me take off this sticker. I'm gonna take off this sticker really quick. Oh no. Oh. Never mind, I'm gonna leave on the sticker. So I have not read Jane Eyre. I tend to read very contemporary literature. I tend to avoid classics like this. for no reason other than they're more difficult for me to read and process as a human being. I don't know. I just haven't read it. I'll get around to it someday. I have also not seen the movies either, so I truly don't really know what this is about. So I will be surprised and delighted when I finally decide to read it. Probably will watch the movies at some point. I just haven't gotten around to it. The next one is American Gods. This is apparently like a cult classic here, and in the book world, I just haven't read it. I actually went to the bookstore. I will tell you about the bookstore probably when I do a how I got back into reading as an adult video, but I went to the bookstore and I asked why am I holding it like this? Look. I went to the bookstore and I asked the bookstore employee if he had any book recommendations. And he picked out this book and he said, this is really good. And I said, I've heard of that book. I'll go ahead and give it a try. It's just kind of a hefty boy. There's lots of pages. It's a thick one. So it's a thick boy. So I just haven't read it yet. It is pretty new. It hasn't been sitting on my shelf for very long. I just have been reading shorter books lately. The next book, The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey. I've heard lots of really good things about this book. I got it as a Christmas present from a friend of mine. It's been on my to be read list online for a while, just haven't gotten around to it. I'm excited to read this book. It seems like the kind of book that I would really like to read. It's just not on the immediate to be read list, but it definitely will get read at some point. This is not going to sit on my shelf unread. I'm really excited to get into it and actually read it. This next one is The End of Mr. Y by Scarlett Thomas. This book, this was in a book swap that I did with a bunch of my friends where we all brought books that we weren't going to read anymore or that we didn't want anymore. So I picked this one up and I'm not quite sure what it's about, but I really liked the cover. I liked the cover with this little mousy guy on it. I don't know if he's Mr. Y. I don't know anything about this book. Let me read the back of it. If you knew this book was cursed, would you read it? Ariel Monto has a fascination with The End of Mr. Y, a book no one alive has read. Maybe it's cursed and everyone related to it disappears. But suddenly she discovers a rare copy in a used bookstore. Using the book to follow in Mr. Y's footsteps, she falls into a trance and steps into the troposphere, a wonderland of an alternate dimension, where she can travel through time and space using the thoughts of others. And so Ariel launches into a heart-racing, brain-teasing, time-twisting adventure of science, faith, consciousness, death, and everything in between. That sounds like the kind of book that I would like to read. I don't know if it's going to change my life, but this sounds really fun. So maybe that will be like a fun vacation read. The next book is The Time Traveler's Wife. I think that the movie was okay. I haven't seen the movie. This was sent to me in a Reddit book swap a couple of years ago, and I'm not sure if I'll read it. I'm not quite sure if I want to invest the time. My mom said that the book was so much better than the movie, so maybe I will skip the movie and just do the book and not worry about the movie at all. This one, you're all gonna hate me again. I have not read The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and I don't know why. I've had this on my bookshelf for 7 years. I'm sorry. This I actually started to read a few years ago, and I got probably about 30 pages in, and I don't think I got far enough in this book to actually start feeling anything about the story. I think this is one of those books where you really have to read into the book. You have to really commit to the book. It's not a long book. It's only 300 pages and the type is fairly big, so I know it's not like a super long book. I just picked it up, I started reading it, and I put it back down and never picked it up again. So I don't know if I will, but it seems like a book that I should have. So I will keep it around. Maybe someday I'll read it, maybe not. But I also didn't purchase this book. I got this book from, I think, one of my parents' bookshelves, and So I didn't buy this book and then not read it. I try not to do that, but I got it for free and I feel no guilt in not reading free books. Last stack of books. This book I picked up, start reading, and put back down again. I have a few books like that, I guess. But it's Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke. This is an older book. I started reading it and I was actually really intrigued by the story, and for some reason, unbeknownst to me and unbeknownst to everybody else, I put it down and I didn't pick it back up again. But this is a short one. It's little, it's short, it's about 200 pages long. This one I'll probably get through and like. I tend to enjoy older books like this that are similar in length and writing. So I'll pick it back up someday and I will read it. The next one is Good Omens. Again, I'm so sorry. I picked this book up, I started reading, I loved it, and then I put it down and I never picked it up again. I'm sorry. I know that this book is excellent. I know that everybody loves this book. I know that it's a TV show. I just have not gotten through it. I picked it up and I got distracted by another book. I'm sure lots of you can relate to that feeling. You pick up a book, you love it, and then you start reading another book and you put down the first one, never to be finished again. But I am going to finish this. I'm not going to watch the series until I actually read the book. And I have had a couple of spoilers just because this is a popular one. It's been around for a while. I will say that what I read of this book made me laugh out loud multiple times. And for a book to make me laugh out loud with nobody around is rare. This book is so funny. I will definitely be reading that in the next couple of months. I think that it is such a fun and funny concept. It is like right up my alley, and I'm excited to actually read it and finish it. This next one that I haven't finished yet, again, picked it up, got distracted, put it back down again, is The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, and I love Ken Liu, and I'm so sad that I haven't actually read this. Part of my problem is that this is the first of a series, and I am not really into series right now. I haven't been for a while, and I haven't wanted to commit to a big, hefty series. And this is a big, hefty series. I love Ken Liu's writing, but this is a really long book. It's over 600 pages and the type is teeny tiny. I know I need to read it. I love Ken Liu's writing. I'm reading his second collection of short stories that just came out, and I'm loving it, and I just need to commit to it, get through it. I will say that what I did read of this book was just very complicated. There was a lot going on in this story. So I think that was part of the reason that I put it down. I was not wanting to commit to a very long, complicated story at the time. The next one is one of 3 nonfiction books. The first nonfiction was Educated, and this one is The Most Beautiful Thing I've Seen by Lisa Gungor. Can I help you? Hi. This book is written by the wife of Michael Gungor. If you've been in any kind of Christian evangelical circles, you might remember that Michael Gungor was a worship leader, hugely popular worship leader, and he started going through a really difficult time in his faith, and he deconstructed. So this is his wife who's writing this book. It's a shorter book, and I'm interested in her perspective on faith and on their journey as a husband and wife and with their children. Stop. The last one, very last one, again, picked it up. I have it earmarked right where I stopped, which is page 9. I picked up Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, and I never really know why I don't finish books. This book was pretty deep, pretty thoughtful, and it was kind of a slow read. I found that the first few pages just took me a really long time to read because I would start reading them, I would have to stop and reread what I already read to try and make sense of it and try and kind of put it all together. I know that this is a highly rated book. I know that people love this book. It's just a lot. There's a lot of information in here, and Daniel Kahneman is clearly extremely smart. He knows what he's talking about. I'm not that smart. I just want to read and learn how to think better. So this is one of those that will probably sit on my shelf until I can really commit to a long educational read. So that's the last one, Thinking Fast and Slow. I think that's it. That's all my books. Let me count them really quick. 18 books. 18 books that I have not read that are just sitting on my shelf. I'd really like to get through at least 6 of those this year. A few of them are on my reading list for the year. Some of them have just been sitting there forever and they may never get read. My TBR online on my Goodreads is much longer. I think I probably have 100 books on there that I would like to read. There are too many books, not enough time to read them. I hope you guys liked that video. I hope that that was interesting or informative, or maybe you just really like to see what other people haven't read and commiserate with them that you have too many books that you haven't read. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.